Hey, this is Nika Monfort, aka Tech Savvy Diva,
Yo, this is Terrence Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
and you're listening to the snobOS podcast, the podcast for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. Hello, regular show folks. We're back again. We want to take just a few moments to shout out our Patreons, and you too can become a Patreon for as little as $5 a month. With this $5, you will get access to our live taping, access to our pre-show, and also access to our Discord chat. So we want to thank all of our current patrons and welcome any new and willing patrons who want to come along for the ride.
Absolutely.
So with that, let's get into the show. All right, let's start with the lowdown, where we talk all things Apple. The first thing we have up on deck, and I think he posted about this on social media, that Apple has released the first public beta of watchOS 7. So I know that you installed it. Thoughts on?
Yeah. So some of the main features, I did a quick bullet point of the main things that if you do decide to get watchOS 7, just a heads up, you will have to have installed iOS 14 public beta to get the watchOS 7 public beta. So if you want the cool things that come with watchOS 7, you do need iOS 14 public beta first. So you go to the same website to get the iPhone, the iPad, the watch, and the Mac public beta. You go to the same, I think it's beta.apple.com. So if you go to beta.apple.com, you get iOS 14 public beta. Then you can download watchOS 7, which some of the cooler benefits as it stands right now. Some things could change by the time the public release is announced, but you get sleep tracking. So you can actually alert, you can set times to where you want to wind down, and it'll, based on some of the different settings, it'll dim the light on your watch. It will, even if you have some smart home setups, to where it'll dim your lights in your house, set your thermostat to a certain level, all to get you in that wind down mode. And then if you wear your watch while you're asleep, you can track your sleep, how long you were up, how active or how many movements you did at night, and then read that information, and kind of analyze the information, see if there's some areas where you can fix your sleep habits. Hand washing alert timer is actually works pretty well, to where I've got it set up to where when I leave the house and I come back, it will say, hey, you've been out the house. Maybe you need to wash your hands before you touch anything, right?
Right.
I'm paraphrasing, but
Essentially, that's what it says. Right.
Right. And then if you wash your hands, it will detect that you're actually doing the hand washing motion, and it'll start to count down. So it'll count down, you wash your hands, and after you're done, that's the alarm that you need to go ahead and get done, and then it'll do a little nice job indicator on the watch. So that's a cool little feature. More fitness movements, like dancing was the popular one that they did during
They called out during the
WWDC.
announcement. Yeah.
Right. So if you do the Zumba, if you do the what it was the
Fitness
twerk, what did they call it?
Well, you can do, you have like the stripper classes, you have the twerking classes, you have
Okay.
you have the Caribbean, like fitness,
Yeah.
soca, dance classes as well.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. So if you use any of those things as a form of exercise, your Apple Watch will definitely recognize that you're doing those special movements and start to track your activity. So where before you had to do like other
It was
workout,
other.
and
Yeah.
then right now you can pick those different. It may not have twerking or stripping specific categories,
But they'll
but
recognize some of the
will.
movements with the legs and the arms
Right,
and those things. So it'll pick
right.
up whatever your movement is.
Yeah, the knees on the hands on your
Hand
elbow.
on,
What is it? What
well,
did you put
hands
your
on your knees, hands on your
hands on your
knee.
elbow?
Yeah.
Yeah, so whatever. It'll recognize those, right?
Right.
And then and more watch face complications. So any sort of third party apps that offer third party complications, you can add those to your watch face. For instance, in my case, there's one for thermostat. So on my watch face, I can put on the thermostat complication, click that on my watch, and then immediately adjust my thermostat. So if the app supports complications, you can actually add those to your watch face. But the last thing I wanted to note, if you need and rely on voiceover for Apple Watch, do not download the watchOS public beta because voiceover is not supported with watchOS 7. If you're not familiar, voiceover is you can turn it on and you can move your hand around the watch and it'll audibly tell you what you're doing. So this is for the visually impaired. So if you're visually impaired, if you're blind, and you use your hand to kind of navigate your Apple Watch, do not download the public beta because it is not supported. But other than that, it's pretty swift, pretty smooth.
Nice. All right. Speaking of more betas, Apple Music beta has been released as well. Well, more like a relaunch. So Apple introduced Apple Music on the web sometime last year. They did it as a beta until April of this year when it was official. Now they are doing a relaunch with a beta version that now has a Listen Now tab. And if you are an Apple Music user on the web, it will replace the For You tab on iOS 14 and Big Sur. So again, it's in line with the new iOS and OS versions that are coming out. So it'll essentially still be the For You tab with Listen Now, but they'll update it with suggestions, based on what you listen to, what you like. And different types of songs within that same genre. So look for that on the beta.
So I don't think this is tied to a specific way. I understand it's just a website, right?
It's just a website.
You think of those people who have Androids. You think of those people who have PCs who don't have Apple Music directly as an app on their PC or Chromebook or whatever the case may be. You can still get access to Apple Music because Apple Music is an app available in Google Play Store, because Apple's trying to get those people who don't have Apple devices to still take advantage of Apple Music, because it's one of the best, not the best, but it's the top the music streaming services. You got Apple Music, you got Spotify, you got Tidal, and you have, what's that other one?
Pandora?
Yes, Pandora.
I don't think people really use it. Do people still use that? I don't get too much about it, but though again, the top three. You listed the top three.
Right. So Apple is trying to compete with Spotify and they're trying to compete with Tidal because those are popular web-based device agnostic apps versus Apple Music. Until this Apple Music beta website is being locked strictly to you have to have an Apple device. Well, they're trying to keep up, so of course they're trying to improve on their beta or their website in general. So they're trying to come up with these cool new features to, like I said, to retain the users that they have and maybe even bring in some more.
Right.
But one of the things I read about this beta is I'll just read it in the story. Unfortunately, Apple Music Web still lacks important features such as the ability to edit playlists and song lyrics.
That's pretty key. Lyrics, the playlist is clutch.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
You want to be able to edit your playlists. Despite that, though, Apple Music website is a convenient alternative to access Apple Music on other devices without the Music app or iTunes. So if you have a lot of music already in Apple and you've switched over to an Android or you switched over to a PC, you still can, at the very least, go to applemusic.com via this beta and still enjoy that music. You will have to deal with the ability not to edit playlists, which is crazy. I'm assuming they'll change that in the future because Spotify is probably the main contender
for playlists. And
you can do all that. And Spotify is nabbing up all of these major podcasters,
TV shows
exclusively on their platform. Exactly. So Apple Music better step up its game.
Because pretty much every show that I watch, they put, as soon as the episode ends, like if you think of Insecure, and there's this one other show, Cherish the Day, that I watched, the music was phenomenal. As soon as that show was over, playlist up with all the songs from that episode, and they just add to it throughout the season. So playlists and creating your own playlist, creating your own vibe for whatever situation is. I mean, that's what music does. It pretty much, is a soundtrack to life. So if you can create or edit your own playlist to, be what you want it to be, that's a pretty big negative. But if you do want to see the beta, you can go to beta.music.apple.com. Yeah. All right. The next thing we're going to talk about, I guess in anticipation of all of the new hardware that we're expecting to get sometime this fall, we hope, Apple Online Store has added a new one-click payment for Apple Card users. So now when you log into the online store and they ask how you want to pay, you have, you normally have the options, PayPal, your credit card or debit card. Now there is a slice for Apple Card. Click on it and there you go, Apple Card information, and you can make your purchase on your Apple Card and get your 3% cash back.
I'm surprised they didn't already have that. I would assume that had been default.
You would think.
So much so that I never even bothered to look and see if you could, because I can't recall buying too many things off of Apple's website. I either go to the store or go to the store and order it. So I would assume this has been a default, but I guess not. But nope. I guess it is now.
It is now. So I mean, that's just like I said. I think they're gearing up for. They're trying to drive people to use their Apple Card, or people who don't have an Apple Card. That could be another incentive to get one. You can do your one-click shopping through the App Store with your Apple Card.
Yeah, I can't think of any major thing that was announced since the Apple Card was released, unless I'm tripping. This will probably be the iPhone 12 and the new Apple Silicon Macs and the new iPads will be the first major things that you can purchase online with an Apple credit card. So I guess it does make sense for them to put it now. I just assumed it always been the case though.
Yeah.
So
no.
All right.
So hey, that's something. All right. The last thing we're going to talk about in the lowdown is also related to iOS 14. So Apple is doubling down on the way that they are allowing tracking of private data on iOS 14, and apparently it has Facebook a little shook. So essentially, this new feature, it allows users to disable tracking between different applications. Facebook owns a lot of stuff. So if you're in Facebook and you click on something to go to Instagram, or you try and chat somebody and it takes you to WhatsApp or whatever it is, it's now putting the power in the hands of the user. So user now with iOS 14, they'll be able to turn that off so Facebook can't track that traffic or those clicks.
They can't follow you around the internet in order to sell your advertising to third-party advertisers on Facebook. With Facebook, you can put that Facebook graph. I don't know a whole lot about it, but that enables Facebook to follow users around the web and track your clicks, track your activity, track your history, and then sell that to advertisers and say, look, if you advertise on our platform,
this many people go to your site.
Not only, in addition to that, not only can you track what they're doing on Facebook, their habits, their likes, comments, interactions, engagements, you can track that if they leave Facebook.
Anywhere they go. Their digital footprint is yours for the taking.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, like you said, you put it ever apropos that Facebook is a little shook because they won't be able to do that anymore. And that means if I'm an advertiser and I come to Facebook and say, hey, I want to ad spend or whatever the case may be, Facebook can say, okay, well, this is now no longer a benefit in every single case. And if I'm an advertiser, I'm like, wait, I want to be able to track them all these other places so I can sell them all this other stuff every place else. If I can't do that on Facebook, then maybe I need not to spend so much. Right. So all that to say, Facebook is a little shook.
And the article that we're reading on 9to5 Mac is pretty much framing it around gaming. So if you have, I have like some games that are, just kind of take my mind off kind of hand dexterity things. If you notice, a lot of those apps, they have in-app purchases or in-app advertising. The way this article is framed is that they're having a lot of conversations with their gaming companies that they partner with, because these gaming companies are like, so when we advertise, we use what they click on to advertise directly to them inside our game. So if you don't have access to that anymore, then I need to find somebody else who can get me those analytics so that I can continue to try and sell people things. So they're framing it around gaming. I think that's it's probably a smart play for them to use gaming, but it's a bigger issue than that.
It's going to grow outside of Facebook gaming.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because that's how social graph, and that's how, website tracking, that's how it works.
Yeah.
They want to see what you're doing in order to see how they can sell you stuff.
Yeah.
And you just being on Facebook is just a part of what you do on a daily basis on the web.
Yeah.
If they can track what you do the other times, then that's a benefit for them.
Yep. All right. So that is it for the lowdown. Let's head over to Second String, where we talk all other tech. So I saw this article today and I thought it was very interesting. And I think, was it a couple of years ago? Has it been that long? With the San Bernardino, the man who killed all those people in that tragedy, and they were trying to get into his cell phone, and Apple would not give them access to their phone. I think the government eventually found a way around that to get the data that they needed. But based on this article, a New Jersey court is saying that police can demand that you unlock your phone for them. So to me, it is an illegal search or seizure, because if you don't have probable cause, why are you trying to get into my phone? What if there's things in my phone that has nothing to do with why you allegedly pulled me over?
Right. So, and it all boils down to self-incrimination, because in a court of law, what is it, Law and Order, and all the other cop shows that I've seen, you can't force me to incriminate myself. Right. I can plead the fifth. I can say I don't know, I don't recall. I'm just not going to get that info. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear so I can put myself in trouble, right? So this all kind of falls around that, to where if I give you, or I unlock my phone, I am incriminating myself, and therefore I have rights against that, right? So, but the twist of this particular story is the case has to do with a corrupt cop, and this corrupt cop was tipping people off that some sort of shakedown was coming down, and Andrews advised the dude, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to get a new phone. Here's how you avoid the police wiretap, so on and so forth. Andrews helped this guy identify undercover police officer, all this crooked, shady stuff, right? So then police, they found out what he was doing, took his phones, but investigators were unable to unlock them, and the corrupt cop, Andrews, refused to unlock the phones based on the Fifth Amendment, which protects against self-incrimination. So even when it involves a crooked cop, same thing with the San Bernardino thing, right? A lot of people say, no, I should not be able to self-incriminate myself, except when it's in a case like murder or sex trafficking or child abuse or whatever case may be, which logically makes sense. But
you can't piecemeal this.
Exactly. It's either it's either we're protected against the Fifth Amendment or we're not. There's going to be cases like a corrupt cop to where we all kind of agree, yeah, he's corrupt.
You should have the information. Yeah.
Let get in his phone, because that's not how it's supposed to happen, right? But if it works for us, it should work for everybody. Yeah. And I'm of the mind to where, okay, cops, these crooks have stepped up their game. They have went digital. They have went electronic. They figured out all these ways to do crime. Y'all need to figure out all these ways.
You need to step your game up.
Right. You can't just let us do what we want to do.
In certain cases.
In certain cases, which sounds weird because if I was on the receiving end and something happened to my wife or something happened to my kids or something happened to somebody I know, I would be pleading, say, hey, this is something heinous. This is something as crazy has happened to me. You should be able to do this for me. But I mean, again,
it's a very fine line.
If I'm on the other end of that as a black man in America that has some trepidations when it comes to the police, I want to make sure I'm protected under the law the same way everybody else is. So it's a fine line, but at the same time, it's got to work for everybody or it doesn't work for anybody.
Yep, exactly. And I just want to make sure that we make this clear because we don't want any emails that this is.
Well, we do. We'll take the emails.
What I'll say is we just to give the disclaimer, this is specifically related to the state of New Jersey. This is the state of New Jersey's Supreme Court ruling. Each state has its own rules around this. I don't believe there's a particular federal mandate other than, your freedom against illegal search and seizure. But it is, state specific. And this particular case is state specific. So when I said we don't want any emails, is people, you're wrong, blah, 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 but
right.
Let's just clear that up. Yeah, it's okay.
And this may not be the final say because they can go to the higher court.
They can appeal it.
Supreme, right, and then they throw it all out. But as it stands right now, New Jersey's Supreme Court rejected the Fifth Amendment claim. So yes, in this particular case, in the state of New Jersey, as it relates to this, yes, they can compel you to unlock your phone, which again, it makes sense, but we both agree that my data is my data and the Fifth Amendment should protect me regardless of what I'm doing, as callous as that sounds.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a very slippery slope. So you just have to, pick a side and, sometimes, unfortunately, the criminals benefit, but, to protect the greater good. All right.
Right.
So before we get into this next article, let me just preface this by saying we talked about something similar to this last week when we talked about the stock market split that Apple was that they were introducing. So as with that or with anything, I think we talked about Streamlytics before, how Terrence had invested in that and I got on the wait list for that. But let's just be clear, me and Terrence
are not
financial analysts, and we have never purported ourselves to be financial analysts. We are only reporting the news as we read it, as we see it, as we can comprehend it based on the article that we're pulling from. So I just preface all that to say, any financial decisions that you decide to make for yourself,
as a result of this podcast,
do your due diligence, and it should be on your own will and volition to make any necessary financial transactions and or investments with your money. Because Terrence and I, we're in it. We just figuring it out as we go along as well. So we're not offering advice. We've never purported to offer advice. We're just telling you what we read, what we see, especially as it relates to tech. All right. So with all that said, now Tesla, they've planned their own stock split. Instead of splitting it 4 ways like Apple, they are splitting their stock 5 ways to make its shares more affordable for everyone. So
it's mad expensive right now.
Hell expensive. What is it now? I mean, it's crazy.
Almost $1,400 a share right now.
Ooh, Jesus. That's some rich people stuff. Whew. Because I don't know.
But it wasn't always that case. I can remember when Tesla was like $300, and everybody's like, Tesla's gonna fail. They're not gonna make it. Elon Musk is gonna say something stupid. They're not gonna meet demand. So on and so forth. And
but Elon Musk has said some stupid things lately, and his stock is still rising.
Right.
His company's stock price is still rising.
fast forward to today, all that stuff happened, and it's still $1,400 a stock, and it looks like it's about to split to where now, if I own one stock at 1,400, now I own five stocks at a lesser value. But again, that makes it more advantageous for people who are just now getting into it that want a piece of it. It won't be $1,400. It'll be whatever that value is. I don't know if it just evenly splits. I don't know if there's a set. Again, I don't know.
We don't
I'm not
know.
a stock person, but
Ask your financial advisor if you have specific questions, because we don't know.
Whatever that value will be, it'll be less than the $1,400 a share or whatever it is, which should entice more people to get in, which will probably drive the value back up, which makes everybody more money. So not only does Elon Musk make any more money to prove that his bet on this electric thing worked, because there's a lot of companies out there still fighting for whatever reason, fighting to release electric vehicles. I doubt that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day.
Yeah. Because nobody's gotten it right. Except Tesla.
Right. Makes them a whole lot more money, and it makes investors a whole lot more money, and it gets more people involved. Like, for instance, the story specifically ever reading says stock splits are typically neutral events for investors. You used to own one share, now you own five in Tesla's case, but the value remains the same. However, the split makes it easier for individuals, such as those Robinhood using retail investors, which I think the stock professionals, the old school, old head guys, kind of use this Robinhood retail investors. They kind of look down on these folks because they don't have thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest. They may have $5 or $10 or $20 or $100 to invest. So they're not using the high-end brokerage firms. They're using small apps like Robinhood or Acorns. So I think, it's kind of a side tangent.
Classist and elitist type of thinking.
Exactly. But all that to say, a five-way split of Tesla would make it more affordable for somebody who's using Robinhood to get in on fast-growing tech stocks. Because if you look at tech stocks versus this pandemic, these tech stocks are not stopping. They ain't slowed down. They haven't lost any value. I'm talking like the big tech stocks like Netflix, Apple, Amazon, Google, the FANG stocks, right? They still flying high. So people want to take advantage of that. And Tesla is moving into that higher end tech realm. So, people want to take advantage of that. So
yeah, because if you look at the article, it talks about as of Tuesday, the closing price was, like you said, it was around $1,400. I just checked now, it's at over $1,500. So within a day, it's gained almost $200, which is $180, just over the course of the day. So, if this is your jam and you've done your due diligence and your research and you want to get in on it, do your thing based on your research.
Yes. Don't come at me sideways when you take a dive, because it's something I said.
Nope, because we don't know. All right, the last thing that we have in second string is Google has announced that they have some new tools that will help with virtual education during the pandemic. As you know, we are in the middle of a pandemic, and most schools with sense, most states with sense, are doing virtual education, unlike the state that we both reside in. But yeah, that's a different story. So Google has some new tools. We talked about Google Meet, which is a conferencing service that that is expected to rival with some of the other big name collaboration and conference tools, and also a new homework helper tool that just requires a photo from a phone. So we all know what Google Meet does, and if we don't, it's similar to your Zooms or your Hangouts or that type of thing. It's just a way to video your interaction. You can have up to 49 participants at a time, and this was announced a couple months ago, but will now officially come out in September. So the other thing is, it looks like G Suite Enterprise for educators Most schools, based on what I'm hearing and what I'm reading, Terrence, you could probably tell me more because you have kids in school, but a lot of kids have Chromebooks that the schools give out to students to use it. So these type of G Suite tools are, probably the best for anybody that's using, Chromebooks and just pretty much whatever machine you use in any environment, because it's pretty much for everybody. So
Right. And according to the story, it's giving educators more control over how they run these virtual meetings, to where, like, if you've got class clowns or you've got disruptors, you better moderating tools to kick them out, to manage your meetings, stop people from disrupting, if somebody isn't paying attention or whatever the case may be. G Suite Enterprise for Education gives educators more control over, how they run their meetings, gives them breakout rooms. So, they're trying to virtualize your average school day. And, kids that are in middle school, they're in high school, they just don't sit in one class every day. They go to different periods or different zones or different whatever they call them. So they're trying to,
mimic that as much as they can.
Exactly. Bring that into the virtual world, to where, kids are not feeling like they're just sitting behind the computer all day long doing one thing. They're trying to give it to where they take, especially, with my kids, we're one of the counties to where the county did decide to just do virtual this semester and not even play with the in-person thing. So the way they've got it done is, they've got different sessions, and they've got, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. they're doing this, from 10 a.m. to 11 they're doing this, and then from 12 to 4 they're doing that. So again, they're trying to bring that whole the way they used to do things into the virtual world. And going back to the story, G Suite Enterprise for Educators, which a lot of schools are using G Suite, they're just making it easier for educators to mimic that, like you mentioned.
Yep. And I think the other thing they mentioned is, was it Jumbo something? A digital whiteboard product. Apparently they already have this, and they're trying to integrate it into its current ecosystem so that it can be more easily used with Meet when it starts in September. So
the kids they got to interact, come up to the board, in school. You had to come to the board and, show your examples or whatever the case may be. Well, with this board, you can still do that. The kids got to, on their tablets or, however they do it, you actually draw interactively and the whole class see it, right? So again, they're trying to bring that physical school day into the virtual world. And, G Suite and Office 365 and Zoom and all these other, applications are trying to do it.
Yeah, and the other thing that I hadn't thought of until I saw it, Jasmine Crowe, who is the founder of Gooder, she mentioned that they were out doing one of their outreach events, and one of the students was saying that he didn't want to do, she asked him, I think, if he was ready to go back to school, and he said no, he was embarrassed because his classmates would see how ugly his house is. And so those are the type of things that we don't necessarily think about, especially in the land of have and have nots, that kids will have dedicated areas and spaces to do their education, or have homes that are, kids are ruthless.
Conducive.
Yeah, and kids are ruthless. If they see something in the background, they'll point it out or pick and laugh. And so along Meet in September, they will have the ability to blur or replace your background, similar to the backgrounds that you have in Zoom and those type of things. So it's just those, when I saw that particular thing, and when I saw what she posted, I think it was last week or this week on Twitter, I hadn't even thought about that aspect of children who may have living situations that may not be ideal, how that can, cause extra stress and issues for them when they're doing this virtual type learning. So I think this other feature of blurring or creating your own background is more than just, oh, it's fun, it's cute, let's switch backgrounds every day. It actually has practical solutions for, it is a practical solution for students who, have those types of issues.
Absolutely.
All right. So that is it for Second String. Let's head over to For the Culture. So this week we don't have really anything tech related. It is strictly based on what's going on in our culture. So we have two things we want to cover. The first one is the constant policing of Black female bodies. And I bring this up because last Friday, Cardi B released a song featuring Meg Thee Stallion called WAP. It was very explicit. The video was very explicit. The video I love, the song I love. It's a bop. The video was gorgeous, but it is for adults. But I bring this up is because nobody ever wants the Black girls to have fun. Black women, okay. Black women have to save everybody and do everything, and because I know it was like a bunch of tweets going on. Black women will save us, or the image that was going around with Black women saying, "Oh, I'm struggling," and then they'll say, "Oh, you're so strong," and high five as you drown. So for me, that's one of the angles that I'm coming from. Some of the backlash, because the backlash was immediate, it was visceral. And it was showing a lot of true colors of people, Black people included. It was a lot of respectability politics. It was a lot of policing of these two women's desire to have ownership of their bodies and their feelings, and it was pretty vicious, even though it was some fun, as course as Twitter is going to come with the jokes. And, as much fun as we were having, everybody that I know that saw the video and listened to the song loved it. We were having a good time. It was Black girl fun on Twitter till people start to come in and be like, no, this is porn. You're disrespecting your body. We're teaching, young kids all of these negative things, when that's just not the case. For me, I'm not a man, so I wouldn't know from that perspective, but I would think that in that arena, having the song is called WAP, W-A-P, that you would want that. You would appreciate that in your personal, experiences. And again, to me, you have two daughters. You wouldn't let your daughters watch that video because you're the parent and you're like, yeah, so there are things that we don't allow you to see in our home. But for people to come out and just be mean about it. And I'm like, some of y'all are around my age or older and don't let any juvenile come on. Don't let we know where you've been and some of the things that you listened to and enjoyed in your youth. And again, Cardi B is 27, Meg Thee Stallion is 25. These are young women who are expressing their art and taking ownership of their body and their pleasure and making a song about it and enjoying it. So
well, so I think where the people were, the point that they were the people that obviously you don't agree with.
No.
I think the point that they were trying to make was I don't think they have a issue specifically with women taking ownership of their bodies. I think people cringe when they put it on display. It's nothing. That idea is nothing new. There always has been, and there probably always going to be people who, for whatever reason, cringe at things that are taboo are becoming more mainstream, right? A lot of people think like, prostitution and, these are far away things. I'm not trying to equate, what Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion did to prostitution and stripping and things of that nature. But those things, sexual things, are still taboo in American Western culture. So
as long as it's, I think I agree with you on that. But I'm just saying, in the front, okay. I don't think they have a problem with it as long as it's so-called behind the red curtain. But when it's out for
Right.
public consumption.
Right. So, but again, that has always been the case, and we have always pushed the boundaries. And I think the end result hasn't been as drastic or dramatic as people who disagree want to believe, right? So the people who are disagreeing with this and say, well, what's there isn't y'all don't have a problem with this being vulgar, or don't have a problem with this being nasty, or don't have a problem with this being indecent. No, it is purposely vulgar and nasty and indecent, but at the same time, there's a place for that, and not to say I agree, not to say that I disagree, but it's not new. And what my issue I'm surprised that people like you mentioned earlier that are our age, that is my age specifically, who have all of a sudden grown these new ideas and new thoughts, and now all of a sudden they kind of clutch their pearls at the idea of this song when we were young and in college and whatever the case may be. I can point to specific songs, specific lyrics, specific things that we didn't have a problem with. We were, young. We didn't have the same worldview, didn't have the same understanding, and it's okay for you to be in a stage to where you don't necessarily have a care in the world, and issues like lyrics to a song or content in a movie or content on a game are not an issue. And then as you grow, you kind of understand that, they call it, I was wild, right? But what my problem is, and I stopped doing this with just music. I'll take a perfect example. The music that I grew up on, these young kids now, this mumble rap and this, Lil Uzi Vert and all these other young kids, I listen to the music and my face is turned up.
Sour face.
But what I'm not going to do is say this is not music. This is not what I used to listen to, because it's not. And furthermore, when I was their age and listening to my music, our parents were like, you don't know what you listen to. That ain't music. What is this crap, this hippity hop that you listening to? Because that's not the genre, right? So to correlate that to WAP by Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B, we've got parents, because I'm a parent of two daughters, I can do, like you mentioned, I can do my best to say, hey, this may not be appropriate for my children. I'm going to do my best to make sure they understand that if they do get a hold of it, they do listen to it, that you can't, that's music, that's entertainment.
And those are adults.
And those are adults. You don't have those abilities. Once you get old and you decide you want to do whatever, that's fine for you. This is a different set of rules. It's a different set of standards. These are different expectations, right? I can do that as a parent, but still not necessarily say the fact that it's vulgar or indecent as the sole purpose as to try to don't disrespect the art just because I feel some kind of way about it. If I feel some kind of way about it, that's fine, but don't use that as your total judgment because of how you feel about it or whatever the case may be, right? Because when I was a kid, I used to go out of my way to watch
BNT Uncut
to do all those things. So
right.
I can't as a parent who did that as a kid. I can only do my best to make sure my kids understand the standards, the expectations, but then be secure in the idea that if my kids do get a hold of this type of music or do things that are against those standards or do get a hold, not necessarily do, but be exposed to those type of things, I have to trust that me and my wife did a good enough job to where they can separate. This is just entertainment. This may be catchy. This may be something I sing, or this may be something that my friends or whatever doing. But that is not going to be a judgment or some sort of barometer or guideline onto how I grow up,
right.
and how I live my life. Because I listen to that stuff. I did the things. I snuck out my parents' house. I stole my parents' car to go to a party. I snuck into clubs. I did, and I'm all right. You know what I'm saying? So I have to trust that my kids will be that same way. And but at the same time, I do have to be my parents because my parents said, "Don't do this, don't do that. This is what I expect of you." So I'm gonna do that same thing. But at the same time, I'm not going to say, I don't like this song because I may have a problem with how I parent my kids.
Right.
None of this stuff is going to have any sort of effect on how I parent my kids. And I have a problem with the people who are saying that because they're saying, well,
what
this
about
is
the
going to have an
kids?
effect on your children. It's not going to have an effect.
Has it ever
shouldn't
had
have
an effect?
on the kids. Right. And if it does, it's always been a small percentage of outliers or people who, whatever the case may be. And you can't fear mongering that into censoring what Megan and Cardi B and all these other people decide to do.
Yeah.
So.
And I said their ages at the top of this because I wanted to put it in perspective. These are young women. They are 25 and they're 27. They are very young. And my thing is, there are people who are on the spectrum that you mentioned, but being the dumpster fire that Twitter is, it was just some outright sexism and misogynoir that was thrown at these women. You have folks running for office talking about banning them, and I'm like, come on, man.
Well, but you have to not to their point, but to understand the sign of the times, right? Social media is going to be that for everything. It's going to be that for religion. It's going to be that for entertainment. It's going to be that for politics. It's going to be that for parenting. It's going to be that for everything. There's going to be people who see something that they don't agree with for whatever reason, and they're going to use their platform in order to convince as many people as possible, I'm right and you're wrong. We both can't be right. We both can't be wrong. I'm right and you're wrong. So whatever the subject is, in this case, it's music. Tomorrow it'll be politics, especially with the next story we got coming up. Yeah. Next week it'll be something else, and next week it'll be something else. So I expect it. I am surprised by how many people are affected by it, right? Because
a lot of people are.
Right, because, people get in their camps and not nobody. There are a lot of people who cannot be, is it objective or subjective? I don't know. Anyway, they can't see it for what it is and figure out how that applies to their life and keep it moving, right? It's always, okay, well, this is the end of the world. This is the worst thing that's ever going to happen. Here's all the ways it's going to destroy whatever things that I believe in. And as a result, I'm not doing anything. If you do it, I'm going to mute you and block you on my social media, whatever the case may be. When it's not that cut and dry. There's layers to it. But again, people are going to take social media and their platforms and whatever they believe in, especially if they're trying to get some sort of cachet and build up their platform and get more followers. You're going to get these people to do that because specifically they're going to latch on to whatever's popular and they're going to figure out how they can use that to push their whatever they're pushing.
It's called clout chasing. And I will just say that a lot of people are looking very funny in the light as it relates to this song and this video, particularly because it is from two Black female rappers who are very comfortable in themselves, not just in their sexuality, but just in their persona and the way that they're empowered
and they're just young and having a good time.
Yeah, and they're just having a good old time.
Now, I'm not going to completely let them off the hook is not the right word because I'm not in charge of them. But yeah, I listened to the song and I was like, ooh.
It's very
that was a
explicit.
lot in your face.
Yeah.
It was a lot in your face fast, but
it came right out the gate. All guns blazing.
But I can't be like, oh, shame on them when, all these other rappers, artists have said much worse. And I didn't jump on Twitter and I didn't jump on Facebook to say, oh, this song and I don't have a problem. I have a problem with this and that and the other. It is peculiar to your point. It is peculiar as to why these particular women have drawn so much ire from people in general. Why not some other aspects? Why not some other entertainers? Why not some other artists? From men, from politicians, and other Black women.
Yep.
Most of the stuff I've seen, there have been Black women
Yep.
who have been upset at
Yep.
other women. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm curious as to what it is. Is it because Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion are seen as these role models, and again, people who we believe have some sort of influence, we hold them to a higher standard, which
That can't be true
it's
because
fair.
male rappers have been saying much worse as well, and they aren't held to that same standard.
And what people say, I think a lot of some other people's issues were, there one guy in particular, he was like, well, there's not a lot of female rappers out there. So the only popular ones you see are Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion and Nicki Minaj. So
There are
they
plenty of female
represent
rappers.
I know they represent female hip hop. So they themselves should be holding to a higher standard, which again, that's not fair. You can't put that on them.
Right.
You're not doing your job if you believe that Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B and Nicki Minaj are the only female rappers out there, and there's not a whole other host of people that you don't support. That's the thing. If you really wanted to say I have an issue with Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B and their content in this particular song, what you really need to do is you really need to prop up the other female MCs and do your research and support these other women, because they be struggling out here. They can't sell no tickets.
Yep.
They can't get people to watch their YouTube videos. They can't go on tour because it's like, yeah, that's cool, but the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and everybody gravitates over to these other people, when all you have to do is support the people that you want to hear, the music you want to hear. You go find those people, but we very rarely as a society accentuate the positive. Go ahead.
And I'll say, and that's what Cardi B, she did at IG, and that's what she said. She was like, y'all want conscious rap? There are female rappers out there doing that, but y'all not supporting them. Go support them if that's what you want to hear. But she mentioned she did, I think it's her song Be Careful, that was not her traditional type of style. And she was like, y'all flame me for that. Y'all like, we didn't come here to listen to you for that. We don't want to hear that. And then so she went back to her regular. Now everybody's like, well, this is disgusting. Come on, bro.
Look, it's not, and that to the point, and we'll probably move on.
Yeah.
You cannot please everybody.
Nope.
You cannot please all the people all the time. You can please some of the people all the time. You can please all the people some of the time. But you cannot please all the people all the time. So you're better off living your life.
Yeah. And the way that Cardi and Megan both have handled both the acclaim and the criticism has been brilliant. Some of the stuff that has come out, like when they said, when whoever wrote about banning them, she was like, this is what I'm talking about. I'm being iconic. So, I think they're taking it in stride because, again, they are 25 and 27. So they grew up in this social media age. So they know how to make it work for them.
They know how the game works, especially with that cameo with the Jenner girl.
Ugh.
They knew what they was doing because they knew people was going to talk about it. People hate watch, and they knew they was going to hate watch that part, and it worked.
I just watched I watched the original version once, and I didn't watch it when it first came out because I heard that she was in it, and then some lovely soul went and made the version with her edited out, and I was like, that version will be getting my streams. So thank you very much to the person that did that. But they knew exactly what they were doing. Mm-hmm. They knew exactly what they knew. What time it is. They're very media savvy. Very media savvy. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
So all right. If you want to change that, you got to take the power back and support who you want to support. Yep. And people will adjust.
Yep. And there are people
they'll play those music and those tracks and whatever that stuff if y'all support it. It's our job to support it. They are the content producers. They are listening to what we want to. They are responding to what we want to see and what we want to hear. If we don't want to see all the violence in the games and the movies and the music, we'll support that stuff. But we have our little guilty pleasures, and we go off and watch reality TV, but then get mad at the reality women who are making all these moves. It's like, you can't do that. You can't listen to trap music and then get mad at the people
who actually live in the trap.
It's like,
it's
like, that doesn't make sense.
And somebody's watching this, because I think after 2 days it had 52 million views. So someone's watching. And a lot of people, the guy who said he accidentally saw it.
Yeah. Come on, B.
Don't play yourself like that. We know exactly what time it is. All right. But let me reiterate my love for both Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion. Right on, sisters. All right. So the next thing, Senator Kamala, let me get her name right. Senator Kamala Harris is the VP nom for the Democratic ticket.
Okay.
Excited?
All right.
Excited or not?
No. Because it's not her. It's not her specifically. It's just the Democratic Party. There is something to the idea that the Democratic Party is taking black voters for granted. Now, Kamala Harris is the move to kind of bring those people back and say, hey, this is what we're doing for progress. She is the first African-American vice president. You know, she's her mother's Indian, so that makes her the first Asian.
South Asian, yeah.
Right. On the ticket to be vice president if they do win. So there's a lot of history being made. You know, she's the first person come from HBCU to be on the ticket. You know, so there's a lot of history being made there. And this is a great move in order to bring those people back. My issue is I hope that this isn't, I hope it's more than just we need to get black voters, simply because all of the other issues and gaffes and mess ups that Biden has done in the past to let us know that they got the black vote. We ain't got to worry about them. You know, all those specific instances to where, you know, Biden was like,
we got it locked up.
Like, you know, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. And Latinos, the Latinx community is a very diverse community of political views, unlike the African American community. That to me says y'all don't care about the black vote as Democrats. So let me
other than to get elected.
Let's scramble. Yeah, other get elected. So let's scramble. What can we do? Let's black women VP. Yes, that'll bring them in. So I hope that this, you know, now of course I am presuming that, you know, Kamala Harris is, you know, I unfairly putting it on her that, okay, yeah, if y'all want the black vote, you need to put me on the ticket. Now I'm assuming that's not her angle as to why she wants to become vice president, you know. But again, the distrust, not the distrust, the lackluster was there for me before Kamala Harris.
Yep.
So I definitely hope that she turns it around. But there is a large number of people out there, you know, not I say large, people I've seen on Facebook that don't relate to large at all. But I'm saying based on the people that I interact with on a regular basis as it relates to social media and just the ideas, people are pushing back on those who say, you need to support this ticket. Shut up about it. Don't say anything bad. Don't say anything negative. We need this vote. Trump is the most horrible president on earth. We need to get him out. You saying negative things about Biden and Kamala Harris, you're showing dissent, and that may mess up the vote. There are a lot of people say, I don't care. It's been too long, and the Democrats have done all this every election season. This is the most important vote, and this is the most historical vote. And if you don't vote, and so on and so forth, that's been the case forever. So it's like, I'm tired. I want either another third party. I want some more options. I want the Democrats to really put people in office, not because you think they're going to win, which is a lot of reason why A lot of people thought the Democratic Party pushed for Joe Biden over Elizabeth Warren, over Julian Castro, over Kamala
Even
Harris
over
at the start.
Kamala. Yeah.
If if you really wanted her to be in there, y'all would have pushed for her to become the nominee in the first place,
But she was a cop,
But
so
now,
at one point,
but she was a cop,
apparently.
and y'all thought Biden was the best to win. Just because he's the best to win, don't make him best for the position.
Right.
You had all them other candidates who had far more concrete ideas, but you picked Biden because you thought he was going to win. Now you need to bring Kamala in here
To
to help
save the
him
day.
because he tripping.
Yeah.
Right. So all that to say, to answer your original question, I am happy that Kamala Harris is the ticket, and I hope she can turn things around. But in general, it's like the Democrats better do something, because if Biden gets in there and he doesn't do much, the Democrats, they may take a bigger L if in elections coming, because there are a lot of detractors.
Yeah.
A lot of I'm not gonna say Candace Owens, that the Black conservative group as it stands right now are pulling people away, but the Democrats are definitely starting to push people away. So that's my whole thing about that.
Yeah. So my take is I was never excited about Biden. He was never who I wanted.
Right.
So I was already not excited. With Kamala coming onto the ticket, I'm more hopeful that the Democratic Party can get it together to get this orange tyrant out of the office. But
and that's the main reason.
Yeah, and I will say that my issue is I'm a Black woman, so whenever I see not just a Black woman, but a more than capable Black woman who has all the credentials, she has them. Just like President Obama, he had to be exceptional. He had to be perfect in order to get in that role. And then after he left, you see what we got after that. He's essentially the polar opposite on the negative end of President Obama. So I don't think they're bringing necessarily Kamala in just because she's Black. Biden had committed to bringing in a woman. And I know a lot of people wanted Elizabeth Warren. I loved Elizabeth Warren. I thought Elizabeth Warren and Julian Castro would have been a fantastic ticket. I think that ticket would have really excited the base. But at the same time, Joe Biden is 74 years old. He couldn't have picked Elizabeth Warren. I'm sorry. No matter how much I liked her, she's in her 70s as well. You just can't have. And then the next person that would take over would be would have been Nancy Pelosi, who's another 70 something. You can't. I'm sorry.
No,
people.
We're not being ageist.
We're not being ageist, but
we need some young blood in there.
You have to have some young blood in there, and two, I'm not saying that they're more likely to pass away than anybody that's younger, but the fact that the top 3 people in line of succession are in their 70s. I mean, there's no way that he could have picked Elizabeth Warren, no matter how much we liked her. My thing is with Kamala, the amount of sexism that we're about to see, the amount of racism that we're about to see, the amount of misogynoir we're about to see is about to be unprecedented. If you had issues with Kamala based on her policies or, the way she has done things in the past, if you can disagree with people, and I have no one is above critique. And I'm not saying that people are saying, I think she did some legislation or did some laws back when she was in California against trans people.
She has some big issues with truancy. There was some big stories or big cases to where she was an advocate for sweeping kids off the street who are truant, not going to school, putting them into the juvenile system, which everybody kind of agrees that, the school to prison pipeline and that whole thing, she's kind of wrapped up in that. And then there was some issues to where she refused to prosecute. I can't remember who it was. Mnuchin. I think he had some issues and she wouldn't. There was some things around her not prosecuting him for whatever reasons. And not to cut, I hate to do this, but I do it.
Not to cut you off, but
I just cut you off.
Right.
One of my main issues was how hard she went at Biden against the segregation and the school busing, but then, then to turn around and say, oh, Biden's the best guy to be president. I can't put that on her specifically because that's just politics, but it just stings to see, the Democrats, again, going back to my original issue, is like they're playing the game. And I think people are tired of playing the game. So like going back to what you were saying, Alex, you can pick it up.
Yeah.
I definitely, she's more qualified. And like that was the point. Yes, you can definitely critique somebody. And I think, another one of the issues is, it's like I've seen on Facebook to where you can't critique them. It's like if anybody says, yeah, I'm not feeling Kamala Harris because all the things
she doesn't give me she doesn't give. Yeah.
Right. But they say on Facebook, you shut your face. You don't say nothing. You keep that to yourself. And if you don't vote for so and so, it's like that's not where we're supposed to be.
And that's the problem. And that's one of the issues is that people feel like their voice is being smothered or discounted. You can say that you have issues with some of the way she's policed people. You can have issues with some of the way she's treated trans people. You can have those issues. And you are well within your right to bring up those issues. My thing is, a lot of people are going based on her record in California. Yes, that happened. That is definitely, issues or things that she's done. But what I'm seeing is a lot of things is that they are blaming her for locking certain people up and all those types of things. And I'm like, as a prosecutor, as an attorney, her job is to go based on the law. And if that's what the law is, that's what she's doing. And my thing is she left that role, went to a role where she could make the laws. And what I've seen her do in the Senate, it shows a progression. It shows that she is willing to go in and do some of the work that's necessary. So my thing is, give people the chance, especially if they've already shown you that they're doing things to improve. The $600 in unemployment that people are now getting is primarily a part of her work. So it's not like she's just the devil incarnate and she's going to, because I saw someone say, yeah, let's get her in and she'll arrest you for posting on Twitter. I'm like, come on. Come on. And like I posted something from Lovey where she said that she pretty much laid it out, how Eric Holder came to prominence and his record from when he was a prosecutor as a lawyer. None of those things came up. Tim Kaine, who was the VP nominee with Hillary, ain't nobody looked into his history as what he had previously done. But now all of a sudden you have this black woman who now Twitter is saying isn't black because she's Jamaican, because apparently if you're Jamaican, you're not black. So my thing is, you can have
all this extra.
Yeah, you can have disagreements. You cannot like things about her, about Biden, which I don't like it. I mean, he was cool as Uncle Joe because we knew he wasn't gonna do nothing. He go shake some hands, hug some babies, and high five, have his aviator glasses on, do the fun stuff. That was his role. He wasn't in the top seat. Now we're seeing him in a different light because now he is running for the top seat, and now he's almost 8 years older than when he was there. So my thing is, do your critiques, and you can have your disagreement, and the same for people who are on the don't say anything negative. No, that's not the discourse, and that's not the way we should be. And my thing is, this man that's in office now, in the stolen seat, a lot of times Democrats, we want the warm and fuzzies with who we elect into office. The Republicans don't care about that
Right.
crap. They put in people who they know are going to get done what they want to get done at what cost.
Right.
And while I don't
Right.
think that's the best way to be, I think we need to take some of the warm and fuzzy out of our elected officials and what we place on them to get in that role. Because
Right.
for me, my thing is, it's a lot on the line. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, baby girl is holding on for dear life.
She's
She's holding on, and she's not going to make it another 4 years. I'm not excited about voting for the top dog on this ticket, but I'm going to hold my breath and go in that booth and pull that lever, because I know for me what's most important for me, and I'm going to do the best for the common good. And I don't have the luxury of, I don't want to say throwing away my vote, because your vote, you're right. But I don't have the luxury to throw away my vote. These are the people that we have available. Trump and Pence.
Right.
Question mark on the Pence, because I heard they were trying to replace him. And Biden and Kamala. Them the only two options that I got right now. So
Right.
I have to choose the best of those two for me, because it is my vote and it is my right, and I have the that choice. So
Right. Yep. Yeah, I definitely agree.
yeah. So I think it's 85 days left into the election, and
Can it be tomorrow? Can we just get this
I
over
just
with?
I just want this over.
It seems like we've been in this election season ever since Trump.
Ever since he got elected. Ever since Inauguration Day, we've been, and that's my thing. They've had 4 years to get this together, and I'm just like, you're dropping the ball. This is what you come up with. And I'm like, Biden, like, bro, you really don't even have to say anything, and you got this from a lot of people locked in, but you keep shooting yourself in the foot, man. I mean, it's just so exhausting. It's just really exhausting, especially when the whole election cycle started. We had a plethora of exciting, amazing candidates, and this guy comes in on the last quarter mile and takes it solely off name recognition and association with President Obama. That's the only reason. And he's a white man. So, and apparently only a white man can win against Trump.
I guess. But it'd be interesting.
Allegedly.
So to your point, one of the things I heard was the only reason why they were able to get, this is conspiracy theory, type stuff, but the reason why they got Kamala over anybody else, of the people he was considering for a VP, was because maybe he's only going to do 4 years. And maybe the agreement was, okay, well, I'll be VP if after 4 years
you hand it over.
Biden don't run for re-election, and y'all move me into that position, because of the fact that Biden has shown himself, like you mentioned, and all the gaffes, and this is what we got, and they for all the crap we give to DNC, they kind of sense what's going on. So it's like, all right, well, this is what we got right now, but just if y'all just hang in there, then we can get the leverage in order to do what actually is the best.
Right.
So maybe Kamala getting in there to where in 2024 she'll be president-elect,
because he's already
Biden going for re-election.
Yeah, because he's already 77, and we already know what stress, stress when you're doing the job the correct way, will put on you. So in 4 years, he will be 81.
Right.
And I don't know, going through another election cycle after already doing 4 years as president in the top job, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot to put on someone. It's a lot to put on anyone, and it's a lot to put on someone who's already older. That's a lot.
In addition to that, all the things Biden been through, losing his son, and all those other things. So that maybe it's taking a toll. So all that to say, Democrats going to have to, we're going to have to hold out, and then maybe after this, then maybe we can, say third party, or y'all, we just going to throw away your vote. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know what the solution is.
Sentiment out there, it's out there that the Democrats are starting to lose that stronghold.
Yeah.
And they need to do something.
Yeah. It's definitely slipping, especially when, 96% of the women who, of the black, 96% of black women voted for the Democratic ticket, which was Hillary Clinton, and 90% of black people voted for Hillary Clinton. If they lose that, I mean, there's no way. Yep. And I don't know what the solution is, or even how we would even go about it without having to deal with all of the infighting, because you already see all of the infighting now within the party. There are Democrats who are against this, who are against, Kamala, who are against Biden.
And you got those new kids, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I think I said her name correctly. You got those new Green Deal people,
Ayanna Pressley.
They making waves, right? And they've had not direct, but indirect conflicts with Pelosi and
direct,
Schumer,
I think too.
Right, and so it's like it's coming. It's like, so again, you can't. I think it's unfair for people to say, it's unfair for people to expect that people are just going to blindly vote down their respective lines.
I think that's out of the window.
Even for Republicans, because this whole Trump thing is kind of shook a lot of, conservative and historically voting Republicans say, look,
this ain't it. I don't want to be associated with this.
I don't want to be associated.
Even if that's what they believe, they don't want to be openly associated with it.
Yep.
Yeah, because before they could kind of hide in the shadows and, kind of play the game. But now you got to pick a side. It's like, it's black and white. There is no gray.
This your man right here? You got to say yes or no. And a lot of people are saying, no.
Right.
I thought it was, but it ain't.
Yeah. So this election can't get here fast enough. This whole, inauguration, January 19th, January 20th, 2021. I cannot wait for that day to get here, because I'm over it. I'm just so over it. By God, I'm over it.
Listen, I don't put it past anybody to have Trump in there for another 4 years.
Nope. I definitely don't see it as, there's no way he's going back in. People have shown their true colors, and I can't. To me, it's like a 50-50 toss up. It could go either way. I'm not happy about that, but even looking at some of the polls, which I don't necessarily follow because they use a sample population, but even outside of that, it's still neck and neck. You can flip a coin and it could go either way. It just really depends on voter suppression. It depends on if people are just sick of it by the time we get to November and they're just like, I'm over this. I'm not participating at all because I don't like any other candidates. Whatever the case may be, it could go either way.
80 some days is a long time, and a lot of things can happen between now and November 4th. November 4th?
3rd.
Yeah. November 3rd?
Yep.
November
I think
3rd,
it's the 3rd.
yeah.
So this is so exhausting, and having to deal with this in the middle of a pandemic it's exhausting. It's exhausting. All right, so we just hit over the 2-hour mark, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. So for the hookup, we have how to install watchOS 7 public beta. I haven't done it. Terrence has, but we'll just run down the steps and we'll include the link in the show notes. And in the link that we have, it also gives screenshots so you can kind of, step your way through it. But as Terrence mentioned before, you have to have iOS 14 beta on your iPhone that you will be connecting to. And you need to go to the public beta website, which Terrence mentioned earlier. You tap on watch iOS from the enroll on your devices page. Then you swipe down and tap the enroll your Apple Watch link. Next, you swipe up and tap on the download profile. You follow all the prompts on how to install the beta. Then you tap allow to download the profile. Then next, you will tap install in the top right corner and enter in your password if you have that enabled. Next, they say read the consent. Most people don't, but for legal purposes, read the consent agreement. Then you tap on install 2 more times, then tap done, then general at the top left, and you head on over to your Apple Watch on your iPhone, and you choose general software update. And at that point, you should start seeing that the beta is available. Put your watch on the charger because it has to be charging, and then tap download and install. And after some minutes, you will have watchOS 7 public beta on your Apple Watch. And that's pretty much it on the hookup. Anything else to add to that? Any quirks that you saw when you were doing the install? Or was it pretty much straightforward?
I give you a quick tip. Once it starts to download onto your watch and you actually get a estimated time of how long it's going to take, like it'll say 40 minutes or 50 minutes or whatever the case may be. If you want it to go faster, once you see that time estimated, turn off Bluetooth on your phone. What that's going to do is going to force your watch to connect to Apple's servers via Wi-Fi versus Bluetooth. It'll connect to your home Wi-Fi versus going through your phone, Bluetooth to your watch. It'll directly connect to Wi-Fi, which goes directly to Apple servers. Download will go much faster.
Cool. All right. I think that's it for this week, unless you have anything else you want to include.
I had something else for the hookup, but I forgot what it was. So maybe I'll come up with it next week.
Okay. Cool. All right. I think that's it for this week. Definitely download, rate, and review us. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. You can hit us up on the social media outlets. That's Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We're at snobOS Cast everywhere. You can also now watch us on YouTube at snobOS. And we will be sure to include the link, and definitely make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Also, you can leave comments and suggestions on our website, snoboscast.com, or send us over an email at snoboscast@gmail.com. And one final thing, if you want to become a Patreon of the show, for $5 per month, head on over to patreon.com/snoboscast. This will give you access to our pre-show content, access to live show taping, and access to our Discord live chat. So I think that's it for this week.
That is it.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Peace.